Well, Avon and crew are cruising along, or, well, they're probably at their base at this point. And then they cruise along. But Avon becomes aware of a plot by Servalan to hire a notorious assassin, the best in the biz, to get rid of those nasty Blake 7 people. So he got enough wind of the plot that it involved some meeting with the assassin on this planet that sells slaves to people. So Avon goes undercover as a slave. But Servalan's already set up the deal, so he's a little late. And they have some auctions of slaves and whatnot. Anyway, Avon ends up being thrown into a cell with Doctor Who. This is the actor who replaced William Hartnell for the 5 Doctors. And I always thought the guy was wearing a wig, but did he really have long white hair like that? Because he's got it in this episode. Because this, I would assume, take place maybe a year. I don't know. I think they're in the 80s by now. I think early 80s or something like that. So maybe it wasn't that long before he was cast as the first Doctor and all that. But anyway, he wants to escape, and Avon says he can escape, but you got to get his bracelet. You know, he lost that, of course, immediately. They always do. And the old man says, "Oh, I can probably get it." So eventually, there's a tussle, a struggle, a fight. The old man manages to steal the bracelet, and so Avon takes him with him when they escape. So they realize where the assassin named Cancer. Not the disease. You would think, this is an assassin who somehow injects you with cancerous tumors and you die. But boy, that would take a long time to get the job done. In some cases, maybe a little faster than others. But anyway, no, that's not how it works. It's the astrological sign of Cancer, just like me. No, I'm not the assassin. But the assassin becomes a bit of a mystery. This is a bait and switch. Oh my goodness, you think you know who the assassin is, but oh no, it's someone else. Who could have seen it coming? You see it coming from the get-go, really. But, they tried. So they get on the ship, and then there's like, oh no, who they think is Cancer. They capture him, but then he escapes, and people start turning up dead. And, what's going on? And then you realize who it really is. So I'm not going to spoil all of it. So, because that wouldn't be nice, I suppose. Even though, yeah, it's pretty obvious who the killer. No, it wasn't Doctor Who. Doctor Who is the one who gets killed. Don't worry, he wasn't really Doctor Who at this point. So anyway, there you go. That's pretty much decides. Oh, yeah, there was a crab-like robot, I guess, or maybe was it supposed to be a creature? I don't know, but it was one of the weapons Cancer used. But of course, he went up against Blake 7, and mostly Avon, so didn't work out the way you thought it would, did it? So that's that. They escape, and Servalan foiled again, so that's pretty much it for Assassin. Now the next episode, Games, it's much better. It's kind of a typical thing. In fact, I'm blanking on it now, but they've had other stories where there's people obsessed with gamesmanship and outmatching someone in battle of wits and stuff. Had several iterations of it, and this is another one where ultimately this is the only way to better this guy. Although in a way they kind of didn't. But nevertheless, there's this guy who runs this planet. It's a mining planet for this crystal that is a fuel source for the Federation. Kind of like dilithium crystals. In fact, exactly like dilithium crystals. But they called them Felden or something like that. Not filled up. But anyway, but the planet has this population that has this secretive religion, and they defend it to the death, and they've been killing off Federation troops and whatnot. You don't really, if that's the weakest part, you would think it would play more of a role in the overall story, but they really don't. They're just there, and it's one of the threats that one has to deal with. But ultimately, Avon comes up with a plan, so he sends the crew with Tarrant and Dana and Villa go down with this new guy they picked up who was playing the games with this guy. It was a game to the death, and he managed to escape, but he got shot, and they patched him up and everything. He was supposed to have been some professor, but, well, he's a sleazy crook on the side, so he's kind of their guide to this place. So they get there, and the man, Belker, I believe his name was, he's playing both sides. So he's promising Servalan these crystals, but Servalan is aware that he's been ripping them off and skimming off the profits and whatnot for himself. But he's promised there's a big batch of crystals that he kept hidden, and they're all hers. And then on the other end, he contacts Avon and says, "Hey, Servalan's going to kill me, and I need your help to get off this planet, and you can have the crystals, you know." And so that's what sets it up. And Avon's like doesn't trust him, but it's a chance to get those crystals, so he's going to go through with it. So that's the deal. So it plays out that way. And the away team, teleports down, and they go to infiltrate this complex. And it takes a while, and but they leave Villa on the outside while they go in to meet with this guy. But it's, a lot of it in some of the fights they had, it was a lot better done. Some of them are kind of just, not well done in Blake 7. This one was pretty good. I mean, they're quick and everything, and they had quite a few spectacular explosions here and there. And I thought it was particularly good in just how it was shot. A little bit better than some other episodes they did. It's pretty much the same landscape, the barren wasteland type stuff, but yeah, it worked out. And so they get in there, and of course the guy, he says, "Hey, here's the deal." And at the same time, there's also this weird thing because he keeps playing these chess matches with his computer, and the computer's got a female voice, and it becomes apparent that he's in love with the computer. But he has to leave the computer behind and orders the computer to get the self-destruct because all his crimes would be recorded in it later on. And he's all sad about it. But anyway, he traps them, and oh, damn it, they're trapped. And he was leaving them to take the fall for his crimes, and that, and at least in that aspect of it, he would have given Servalan something. Because later, to save his life, he says, "I've reached out to Blake's 7, and I know you want those guys, and I've tricked them into coming here." And she's, "Well, we'll see about that," and so, but the natives are restless, so there's a battle that breaks out there, and they're taking out quite a few of Servalan's troops. Villa, being left behind, manages to get back in because he can pick any lock. He ends up meeting the computer, has a little chit-chat with her, and kind of messes up the programming for Belker. After he's made his escape, is able to free Tarrant and Dana, but the crooked professor they got doesn't make it out. They manage to teleport back, and they got to go through these booby traps that Belker set, but they're able to outfox them, and but they're able to turn the tables, because at the end it was putting them in danger of going into a black hole. And that was his ultimate plan there, and that Belker expected to escape and everybody else would collapse into the black hole. But Avon was able to blast the space station that Belker had, and the explosion was able to break them free while he was stuck and went into the black hole, and that was it. So they escaped, but then Villa, and they say, "Well, this was all for nothing." And then Villa says, "Not necessarily. I managed to swipe those crystals." But then Avon takes a look at them and reveals they're all fake. So there never were any crystals. So whatever crystals the guy, he was still swindling to the bitter end. And I said, well, even though he lost the ultimate game, I guess he gets a win that way, because it was all a trick, But the overall flow of it, I just thought was better than Assassin, and was a much more enjoyable episode. So it was, pretty good. And it's also in the nature of Blake 7, of the dark nature of it, and that everybody's really kind of backstabbing and sleazy. You never really know if anyone's really honorable. More times than not, they're not. It's like that professor guy who ended up helping him, but he was He wasn't a good guy. And then Velcro himself, of course, was just in it for himself. The only thing he seemed to care about was the dumb computer. I'm gonna miss you. Well, down the hole he went. So that's that. They escaped, and Servalan escapes, of course. Now, a lot of this was like Servalan's in charge of the Federation, and you would think she could overwhelm these natives and whatnot, but you got to remember they do have a good explanation for that, because they got their asses handed to them in that battle with the aliens, and the Federation was in a bad state of affairs after that, and they're recovering, but you would have to assume it's not quite the force it used to be. So I think that kind of plays out there, whether they really thought about it or not, but I think it goes as a good little explanation. That, there's not a lot of overwhelming force coming out of Servalan. Not that those guys, just like stormtroopers, they never could aim and all that sort of stuff. And it's the stupid helmets, they obviously can't see out of them. But, well, it's the uniforms they got, and with budget cuts and stuff for the Federation, they probably can't afford to get new ones, or a redesign. But anyway, pretty good episode with games.